Hey, Shalom, 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 Shalom. This is Naaman with DC Camp, Great Millstone, back for another video. And once again, we have to try to, what can you do, you know? First and foremost, call Halal Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Al-Kodash. Once again, double honors. Go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And send salutations out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways. Alright, pushing the truth across the four corners of this earth while we're still trying to wake up the remaining, hopefully, elect. Alright. As you can see here again, this is from the Professor Black Truths site. And it says NAACP Boule groups oppose reparations but support Kamala. It's sad that you have to continue to do videos on this, but some of our people are just so far gone, they're so far into this world. Alright, that these people that were set up, clearly set up, alright, and to work against their own people, as he's going to get into. And like I said from the onset, it's sad that we have to keep doing videos on this, but in the case that there's still someone that, you know, that feeling of some, you know, this is bullshit, well, this is for you, because for one thing, this, and I've always said this and others have too, this continual reference to yourselves as black. Alright, that's so basic, it's so vague. It's okay, which you're not. What's the definition of black? Alright, evidently, as much as this has been talked about, you still don't get it. It's so sad. And especially for our people, because how can you point to a nationality that you belong to while calling yourselves black? It doesn't exist, and that's my point. Alright, so people play up on us for that very reason. Alright, so you won't, I mean, you can claim to be black all day, but you don't know who you are. Oh man, it's so much power that's stripped from you, and that's the point again. But will the bulk of our people listen? No, they're, like I said, too far gone, you know. So this is not for them. But in any case, this is to get for those of you that are figuring out what's going on. Hey, turn back to the Most High, you know, whose name is Yahweh and his son's name is Yahushua, who you have to go through. Alright, he's the mediator. There's no way around it. Alright, so let's go ahead and play this. And got my scriptures lined up, but I'm going to let him lead off here. Here we go.
If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon, so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like, as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. And now, the Sunday address.
For Biden, absolutely. I actually went on Fox News at 9 a.m. for exclusive one-on-one interview in which I publicly suggested that he step aside for the first time, and I endorsed the vice president, and 2 hours later the president's gone. So I'm like, for me, it's, wow, my timing could not have been more exquisite. And I had members of Vice President Harris's team thanking me, because the headline out of the interview was, skipping over Kamala Harris would be a catastrophic mistake. I was, in no uncertain terms, I made it clear that there's no way we're skipping over her. There's no way we would commit that political malpractice. You know, she's the only one who could have inherited the $240 million war chest. And I really don't think any universe in which our base, Black Americans, would have allowed party chieftains to just override her. You know, our base is why we defeated Trump.
woman says black voters are owed, what does that actually mean? She says we are owed Kamala Harris as a candidate. That's what she says. Black voters are owed this. This is what black voters have demanded. Never mind that black voters refused to support Kamala Harris 4 years ago when she ran her own failed presidential campaign. What we are owed, what we have been demanding, and what we have not been heard on is tangibles. To make Kamala Harris the presidential candidate only benefits the anti-black racist. All she said was black American voters are owed the respect of being listened to. So she doesn't say that we're owed something. She says the Democrats owe it to us to merely listen to us. We know that they hear us. They've spent decades ignoring us. When we pressed them on reparations, they said no. Bernie Sanders said it wasn't feasible. Elizabeth Warren said owed for what? And Kamala Harris said she wasn't going to do anything that only benefited black people. So Democrats have heard us, and they've ignored us. All of this touchy-feely talk that this woman's trying to do, who the hell is that supposed to appeal to? This woman already knows what we want. The problem is they're not doing what we've told them to do. We're not looking for a shoulder to cry on or for someone to talk to. We're demanding that our interests be catered to and fulfilled through political policies specifically to benefit us. It means absolutely nothing for this lead woman to say black American voters are owed respect without actually saying what it is that we want. So this is a talking point that's meant for black people to see it and think, gee, are these people who have ignored us for decades actually thinking about us now? It's all propaganda. It's all trying to manipulate us through repeating lies over and over. The first of the...
And that's just it. What we've been trying to tell you all along, the level of manipulation when it comes to our people, the amount of gaslighting, that's largely a huge portion of that manipulation. And why stop it? It's worked. But again, that's because the majority of our people will not listen. They don't want, like the scriptures say, preach smooth things. All right, they don't want to know the truth. They're more comfortable living this lie, this illusion that's been set up for them, and they don't truly understand as of yet. And this amazes me because we see how close this shit is from kicking off. All right, they have no clue the real danger that they're in. But again, this is can't say the majority of our people don't deserve what's coming. All right.
The thumbnail that they use for this particular video, it falsely claims black voters heard. Now, that's the white media trying to con you. They claim black voters heard. What black voters were saying to run Kamala Harris for president? Nobody. Black voters are demanding policies for us, not for some self-interested California politician to get a leg up in the political game. This is the Democrats giving a gift to themselves and then falsely claiming they did it for us. That it was all our idea. Why this is what you people wanted. You people demanded. That's what you people wanted. This is part of the scheme, too. If Kamala fails, then they'll be claiming that black voters failed the civil rights generation or something. As far as I'm...
And you notice this is going on at the same time that, for you Northern Kingdom, don't laugh. What did you just do down in Mexico? You elected a Jewish person over you. All right, Deuteronomy 17 and 14 and 15. Hey. All right, this is something that was in the law that's not supposed to do. So it's happening for you. It's been happening. I got, Vicente Fox, his people are traced back to Germany, if I'm not mistaken. All right. This goes way back. Again, using the same thing that we're talking about. Just because they share your complexion doesn't mean that they're the same people. You have to learn to look deeper.
As I'm concerned, they can go ahead and blame us all day long. I'll take credit for this. Yes, if and when Kamala Harris's second bid for the presidency crashes and burns, yeah, you're doggone right. You point those folks online. Black voters being heard? No, we are barking out the orders. words. It ain't about whether or not you hear us, it's about whether or not you obey us. This woman says that black Americans wouldn't have allowed party chieftains to override Kamala Harris. Well, black voters refused to support her when she ran 4 years ago. This is the reason that I posted that video a couple of days ago talking about Van Jones and his phony baloney claim that apparently there are these throngs of black people, or in his case he was talking about black men, who apparently are saying protect this sister when talking about Kamala Harris.
Sister?
That's nothing more than a DNC talking point. That came from the Democratic Party. And it's a talking point that they've been told to spread. That's why they're all out here showing that everybody's got the memo. This is merely paying lip service, and weak lip service at that, to black voters. Trying to do the sister girl routine for a woman who, now that she's officially on the campaign trail, she ain't talking that sister girl stuff. Oh, you got Van Jones and others doing that mess. Yeah, that's what they're told to do. Well, we need you to get out there and say the sister girl thing. Kamala Harris, especially talking to these white voters, she can't do that, don't you see? Now, notice this lead woman said that black American voters are the party base. One thing that I noticed is she didn't say black women. She said black American voters. Now, Democrats have been banging the hell out of that drum of black women voters for several years now. But they see that their attempts to drive that gender wedge hasn't worked. So now, at least a number of them are finding themselves being forced to have to dial it back a little bit. Not all of them, but it's showing that there are more and more of them who are understanding and accepting the fact that that old gender wedge divide that they've been trying isn't really working, not the way they need it to. What we're witnessing here is a full-blown PR blitz to convince black people that we like Kamala Harris. Well, we don't. But as the white media, they think they can dictate our opinions to us. This is where the constant carpet bombing of propaganda on us is meant to come in. Just a matter of just saying over and over again, hopefully those mushy-headed Negroes will look and go, you know what? She is a sister after all. That's what the whole goal is. We're going to stand up for this sister. And who exactly is it who's supposed to be this alleged base black support for Kamala Harris? Who is in the black community who's supposed to form this support base? Why, it's the NAACP.
Well, Erica, on Sunday, President Joe Biden, as we know, announced he was dropping out of the presidential race, and that same night, an estimated 90,000 black women from all across the country logged onto their computers to support a new campaign. So on that Zoom call was Portia Prescott, president of the Rocky Mountain NAACP.
If we don't invest in our women of color, then why else would anybody
Now listen to
else
this.
invest?
Prescott and Harris are both members of the same sorority. Prescott and Harris are both members of the same sorority, which is also garnering support from people all across the country.
So Kamala Harris opposes reparations, the NAACP opposes reparations, and what a surprise, her sorority sisters that she went to school with, they also oppose reparations. The ties between these bootlicks and these suck-ups and these operatives are absolutely incestuous. There's not even 1 degree of separation between these sellouts. And since I know that a number of these Boule wannabe sorority suck-ups happen to infest my pages, let me ask you people a question. If you don't oppose reparations, then why the hell is it that you're doing everything you can to put a woman into the Oval Office who has publicly gone on record before the world and saying that she opposes reparations?
Those Greeks. First Maccabee, first chapter, here we go.
The fact that you support Kamala Harris, that shows you oppose reparations because you haven't gotten a promise from her saying that she's going to support it now. Has her stance on the issue changed? Of course not. She hasn't changed at all. So even if these sorority suck-ups want to try to claim, well, we're not opposed to reparations, well, Kamala Harris is. And since she hasn't changed her position on the issue, that means obviously you did, because you're supporting her. And this is who's supporting Kamala Harris. And this is why we don't fool with these civil rights fossils, these dinosaurs from a bygone era. They sold out, and they're trying to pretend to speak for all of us. When you look at the individuals who you see doing this fundraising for Kamala, it's the same handful of Democratic Boule.
See? This is what we mean when we say things like this. Now, when you go to, of course, Isaiah 30th chapter, all right, it says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Most High, that take counsel but not of me, and that covet, excuse me, hold on, all right, and that, oh crap, I didn't know that was cut off like that, excuse me. Oops. All right. That cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. I didn't know that was cut off like that. Salakia. That walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves and the strength of Pharaoh. This is what you're doing. Alright? How many Jake, and we just, had the 4th of July earlier this month. All you see is Jake out there forgetting what was the condition of your people during that time and what has changed. They just don't get it. And to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame. It's coming to this point now. You don't get it. These people, there is no legislation for anti-hate bill for our people. Nothing of substance to be done for us. No restoration whatsoever. And you still expect people like this to reparations? And that means a lot of you Negroes would have the means to leave. And we don't have nobody to point to say that they're more fucked up than we are. I can't let you go. It's like, this is why this is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Alright? What did ancient Pharaoh do? He refused to let our people go. Let's see, skipping on down here. Let's see. Because I already had this marked. Our people, when I get to it, they trust in oppression. Alright? It says, wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness. Now let's go over here. Koshai. Actually, Koshak is what I want. I shock. Oppression, extortion. Uh-oh. Why would it say extortion? Let's get over here and let's look up. Alright. Extortion. The act or practice of extorting, especially money or other property, especially the offense committed by an official engaging in such practice. Let's go on a little deeper here. Hold on. Alright. Extortion refers to imposing an action or obtaining something by force or coercion. Coercion. The term coercion means threats of serious harm to or physical restraint against any person, any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe that failure to perform an act will result in serious harm to or physical restraint against any person, the abuse or threatened abuse of law or the legal process. Now watch what this bitch does. He's gonna get to it. Alright, shit like this to manipulate the law. Alright, or threat of, alright, imposing certain, let's just, oh boy, you're gonna love this.
Wannabe black elite tools, bootlicks, and professional butt kissers who want to reenact the days of slavery. That's their goal. Back to the plantation. This is the danger in allowing social climbers to be...
And again, I keep telling, just because you're not on private plantations, you got to understand what happened. The Emancipation Proclamation, as it's called, did not free us like many people believe. Alright, we just became, instead of property of individual private plantation owners, we are now wards of the government. Alright. That's it. That's the only thing that changed. All you have to do is look at the history, the things that were done afterwards, the so-called Emancipation Proclamation. Alright. That's the thing with the majority of our people. You don't look things up. Alright. But hey, these things were, again, you have no idea what's coming down the pipe.
Presented as speaking for you and me. Understand something. The current narrative that we're seeing about Kamala Harris, that she's apparently just running the boards, that she's dominating the polls, and oh my God, there's new energy in the Democratic Party, and this woman's turning through. Oh, this is a game changer. This is a game changer. This is the same cock and bull story that we saw when Hillary Clinton ran back in 2018. And by the way, at that time, they were talking about Hillary Clinton as if she had all this black support. I think we know how that one turned out. This is the exact same playbook from 8 years ago, except this time they have an Asian candidate who's running. And the only actual change in rhetoric is whereas in 2016, the talking point was that it's time for a woman to be president. This time around, they're trying to rerun the Obama playbook. They know the reason they lost the presidency in 2016 was because black voters stayed home. So the goal now is to give some empty rhetorical pandering to us and claim that black people can't wait to vote for Kamala Harris, and especially black women in specific. And make sure to put some NAACP shill or some woman who's the head of one of these white-funded, sock puppet, dark money organizations like Black Pack or something, or some other group funded by white dark money, and let these front women stand in front of the cameras acting like they're leading black voters when in reality they're being led by white Democrat donors. Their goal is to put out propaganda masquerading as news, where they avoid and evade black people and make sure the only persons who are on screen are the same Democrat Party aligned shills who depend on the DNC.
Again, what did I just, the question I posed, what has changed? Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, hold on. Whoops. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, let's see. Alright, there's a reason these things are here, and I'm going to come back to this because we're going to get. Alright, let's see. 1 and 9, and it says, the thing that hath been, it is which shall be, and that which is, that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. There is no new thing. There is no new thing under the sun. Wow. Playing the same games because our people have the illusion of inclusion, when in actuality, alright, you don't.
And white dark money donors for every crumb of their daily bread. When you read the white media articles, they never talk to us, the grassroots. They always talk to politically reliable shills, individuals who they already know are hidden deep in the Democrats' pocket, and who will never say the wrong thing. And what's the wrong thing? Anything that has to do with black empowerment. Pay attention to these people you see the white media putting on your screens, or who you see them talking to on these newspaper articles. You'll see they're not some random person off the street. It's always some Democrat-aligned individual. That's the game. Try to get black people excited about voting for nothing. So they're going to keep the hype train on full steam ahead, and they'll claim that Kamala's dominating in the polls, dominating in this or that poll, just like they do with Hillary. All this is propaganda meant to manufacture a phony public impression that Kamala Harris is unstoppable. Trump is afraid of her. Trump voters are scared she can win. Black voters have never been this mobilized ever. So all of these black folks you see online talking about things like reparations, intangibles, and punish the police, and making sure that there's an anti-black hate crime law, don't pay attention to that. That doesn't matter. What matters is the excitement, the enthusiasm, because we got these bought and paid for shills over here, these Boule bootlicks who are on the payroll, and they're saying that black community has never been more excited or energized about a candidate ever, and oh, Kamala Harris, she's getting all of this money, which by the way is the same money that they raise every 4 years. There's nothing to see here, but they're going to talk about it as if this is unprecedented. As they see it, they're going to give themselves permission to ignore the black vote, to ignore us. That's what this is really about. And instead, they're going to claim that all those people you see online saying Kamala's offered us nothing, they don't matter anymore. Why? Because you got these NAACP suck-ups who are saying there's so much support for her. They're trying hard to position her as a candidate who they hope can appeal to white women, especially in the suburbs. That's why she talks about abortion so much.
One of the issues that came up at the last debate and will definitely feature in September would be the issue of reproductive rights. And having her as the candidate could significantly change that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, it's kind of taken a backseat to all the drama in recent weeks, but I can't even imagine a world where we don't have full control over. I just can't even imagine. I can't believe this happened. And she has been out there every single day being a champion for reproductive rights. If we can't control our bodies, nothing else matters.
Kamala's not out there doing that sister girl routine. That's why Van Jones looked doubly stupid talking that protect this sister stuff, because Kamala's not out there on the campaign trail doing that at all. But of course, that kind of rhetoric was only done as a clumsy attempt to pander to black women and to condescend to black men. That if you criticize Kamala Harris, then you aren't protecting black women. As I detailed for you in my prior video, Kamala Harris is the one who hasn't done a thing to protect black women or black people in general. Imagine the absurdity of black people getting excited to look for a career prosecutor who made her bones threatening to lock up homeless black mothers because their kids miss school. And
this is the part where I was alluding to earlier on the extortion. Listen to this shit.
She laughed when she talked about that.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it.
And by the way, if that phrase, spending some political capital, sounds familiar to you, it should, because that's the phrase that W used to justify ignoring the American people and just instituting policies that he wanted to institute.
You asked, do I feel free? Let me put it to you this way. I earned capital in the campaign, political capital, and now I intend to spend it.
I've got some political capital, and now I'm going to spend it. That's who Kamala Harris takes her cues from.
Again, stressing to you that there's no real difference between these two so-called parties. All right, and again, this is prophesied. Let's go all the way. Revelation. As soon as it catches up with me. 13 and 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon," because that's in reference to, let me go, is it First Maccabees 8, I think, hold on. Let's see. And it happened after Alexander, why did it bounce me back? Whoa. Now, Judas had heard of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as were lovingly accepted all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts, which they had done among the Galatians, how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute. Alright, so that tribute there, let's get that, it's not going to be in here, unfortunately. Yeah, but in other words, they were being taxed. They were allowed to practice their customs and whatever have you, but that tribute, which is a tax, that means someone's ruling over you. Alright, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there. And I'm going to skip on down because the point is about the form of how their system of government was different from those before. Let's see. Let's see. I guess I'll start at 12. No, 11. And it was told him besides how, again we're talking about Judas Maccabees, right? It was told him besides how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms and isles that at any time resisted them. But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept amity, and that they had conquered kingdoms both far and nigh, insomuch as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. Also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they would, they displace. Finally, the same thing's happening now. All right, throughout all these what they consider third world countries, they're all in their business. They set up their little puppet regimes. All right, this is, after all, the revived Roman Empire. He says finally that they were greatly exalted. Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple, to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. All right, so there you go. That's the history on that. It's the same thing here. All right.
That's what this career
You got
prosecutor was
two,
quoting.
you got two wings, but they still belong to that same filthy ass bird. All right.
W.
And I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. I sent a letter out on my letterhead to every parent in the school district. A friend of mine actually called me and he said, Kamala, my wife got the letter. She freaked out. She brought all the kids into the living room, held up the letter,
Listen
said,
to
if you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
When she talked about locking black people up, she cackled like the witch she is.
Mhm.
And you don't see any of these NAACP shills or any of the rest of these bootlicks who are saying anything about, hey, we got to find out if Kamala Harris has changed her tune. Because we haven't seen her saying anything different than what she said in the past. Instead, she just lied and decided she's going to try to cover it up and say that, I want you to know that I've been open-minded a long time and the community came to me and my record is clear and good. No, it ain't. She runs away from her record. But then again, I would too if I had a record like that. When Matrice Richardson was murdered, I'd like to know where Kamala Harris was then. Oh, we know exactly where she was. She was falsely claiming that I'm going to investigate the killing of Matrice Richardson, and then she dumped the case. That is, until she was ready to run for the U.S. Senate. Then she made a big splash out of announcing she was reopening the Matrice Richardson murder, but no sooner than she was declared the winner of the Senate race, she quietly announced that for the second time in a row, she was closing the case, and that the police had nothing to do with it, etc. Kamala Harris cynically used the murder of Matrice Richardson as nothing more than a PR tool to promote herself. This is who the white media is trying to dictate to you and me that we ought to get excited for. This is who these NAACP shills and all the rest of these bootlicks and operatives are telling you and me represents our best interests. This woman has said nothing about punishing the police, nothing about punishing prosecutors, nothing about punishing judges, all of whom are complicit in the systemic racism we experience in the injustice system. The goal is to have as many black people, or at least people with the requisite amount of melanin, get in front of the cameras and talk about her as if she's the second coming, and just to see how many black folks fall for it. They're throwing stuff against the wall to see if anything sticks. How long until she makes some super cringe video of herself dancing to Sexy Red or something?
Mm-hmm.
It's only
Anything to
a matter
get a
of time.
vote.
But then again, the white media is counting on the fact that most people, including black folks, are sheep.
Yep.
They see a parade, they see the white media making a big deal out of someone, they think that there must be something to it. They don't pay attention to it. Some of them might even act on it. Most people are sheep. And
Let me make a point. Go back to Isaiah here, because if anyone was paying attention to that blasphemy that they allowed, the Olympic ceremony, again, going back, it says you trust in oppression and perverseness. Where was your so-called black church? Where were all your clergy? So far, I haven't heard. I don't know what's going on with. All of a sudden, it doesn't want to work now. What the hell? There we go. Now it does it. All right. All right. La was. turn aside, depart, let them not. Let's see. Devious, guile. Alright. To be perverse. Let's see. To turn aside. To depart, depart from what? The laws, statutes, and commandments that were given us. Doing every forward. That's a word you'll see a lot. Alright. A lot of our people, hey, that's, you know, like he had mentioned, the sexy reds and all this, these people are set up expressly for the purpose I just mentioned here, so that you would depart. And they know this, because the people pretending to be us know who we really are. And they're familiar with enough scripture to know, alright, even though they are Talmudist, it says here, devious, crooked, alright, it says, and even though, like I was going to say, even though they are Talmudist, alright, they do that because they know that the actual scriptures condemn them. But see, you don't read anything other than what Master tells you to, and you hardly even do that. It's so sad. It really is. It is really, but hey, you know, this is prophecy being carried out. Alright, and it says, and stay thereon. And stay thereon. Dang. Wow.
You can fool most of them, but only some of the time. That's the dilemma the white media's in. They got away with it 4 years ago. Can they do it twice? Well, that answer depends on how foolish the people choose to be. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors.
So there you go. Like I say, you've got, let's see, this is the 29th going into the 30th. Wow. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and roughly a week. Wow, it's, oh man. I really don't see us making it to that point. I will be surprised if we do, because there's so much tension. Like we had said many times in many videos, alright, before now, these Edomites, these so-called white people, are feeling what we've been going through for the longest of times, and they don't like it. Alright, and that old hatred is resurfacing. Alright, so for those of you that want to remain in La La Land, hey, don't say we didn't try to warn you. Can't say that. All the evidence is all over the internet and on street corners. Alright, so with that, once again, I hope whoever views this is edified. That's what we do here at Great Millstone, filter everything through the scriptures. Alright, and I like to also remind you of the power of prayer and fasting. So with that, until the next video, hey, shalom.